You know what's interesting about people who can fix almost anything? They rarely make a big deal about it. We often imagine the stereotypical handyman or the tech-savvy genius, someone who's obviously skilled, always carrying tools, maybe even a little obsessive about it. But psychology research suggests something different. Many people who naturally fix things aren't just mechanically inclined. They're displaying a specific cognitive pattern that shapes how their brain approaches problems in everyday life. In fact, cognitive psychologists often say that the ability to fix things is less about what you know and more about how your brain processes breakdown and possibility. And that processing tends to show up through certain everyday habits. Here are 7 surprisingly common psychological traits often found in people who know how to fix everything. The first is pattern recognition under pressure. People who fix things well have brains that instinctively look for patterns when something breaks. They don't panic, they observe. What's different? What changed? What doesn't belong here? This activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive function and problem solving, which stays remarkably calm during system failures. Research from MIT's problem-solving lab found that skilled fixers demonstrate what's called diagnostic thinking, the ability to reverse engineer a problem by identifying deviations from normal function. Their brains are wired to see breakage as information, not catastrophe. The second trait is high tolerance for trial and error. Most people give up after the first attempt fails, but people who fix things treat failure completely differently. Psychologically, they've developed what researchers call a growth-oriented error response. When something doesn't work, the brain doesn't interpret it as personal failure. It interprets it as data. Neuroscience shows that this mindset actually reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, which means they stay cognitively flexible even when solutions aren't obvious. They'll try 5 different approaches without frustration because each failed attempt eliminates one possibility. The third trait is spatial mechanical intelligence. This might sound technical, but it simply means their brain naturally visualizes how objects fit together, how forces interact, and how systems connect. Studies published in the journal Intelligence show a measurable correlation between spatial reasoning ability and real-world problem-solving success. People who fix things can often mentally rotate objects, predict mechanical outcomes, and see the invisible relationships between parts. It's not magic. It's a cognitive strength that some brains develop more fully than others, often through years of hands-on experience during childhood. The fourth trait is comfort with incomplete information. Here's something fascinating. Most people need to fully understand something before they'll touch it, but fixers operate differently. They're comfortable acting on partial knowledge. In psychology, this relates to something called tolerance for ambiguity, the ability to move forward even when you don't have all the answers. Research shows that people high in this trait demonstrate better adaptive problem solving because they don't freeze waiting for perfect information. They start somewhere, learn as they go, and adjust their mental model in real time. Now, consider this for a moment. How often do we misinterpret these behaviors? Someone who takes things apart may seem reckless. Someone who tries multiple solutions may seem indecisive. Someone who works with their hands may seem less intellectual. But sometimes, these are actually signs of a deeply analytical mind that just processes information through action rather than abstraction. The fifth trait is systems thinking. People who fix things rarely see objects in isolation. They see systems. A broken doorknob isn't just a doorknob. It's part of a locking mechanism connected to a strike plate, anchored in a frame that expands and contracts with humidity. Their brains automatically map these relationships. Cognitive scientists call this relational cognition, the ability to understand how components interact within larger structures. This is why fixers often spot problems that others miss. They're not just looking at the broken part. They're scanning the entire system for upstream causes. The sixth trait is a strong internal locus of control. Psychologically, this means they believe their actions directly influence outcomes. When something breaks, their first thought isn't, "I need to call someone." It's, "I can probably figure this out." Research in behavioral psychology shows that people with high internal locus of control report greater life, satisfaction, and lower anxiety because they feel empowered rather than helpless. This isn't arrogance. It's a learned belief that effort and experimentation produce results, a belief usually formed through thousands of small successes starting in childhood. And finally, The seventh trait is satisfaction from tangible results. While some people find fulfillment in abstract achievement, fixers get a specific neurochemical reward from making something work again. When they repair something, their brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter associated with accomplishment and pleasure. But there's something deeper happening. Psychologists have found that people who work with their hands often report a sense of meaning that comes from creating visible, lasting change in the physical world. It's concrete. It's real. It's proof that their effort mattered. And perhaps that's the most interesting part of the fixer mindset. It's not just about tools or technical skill. At its core, it's really about a relationship with possibility. A brain that sees breakdown not as failure, but as an invitation. A mind that stays curious when others get frustrated, that finds satisfaction in small victories, and that believes deeply that most things, with enough patience and the right approach, can be figured out. If this described you, please subscribe for more psychology that actually explains how your mind works. I would genuinely appreciate your comments.